Good morning, everyone. If you all want to come in and grab a seat, we're going to get started in just a minute here. I would love to introduce Lisa Watts. Today she'll be speaking on the collaboration of age in the Metaverse. Lisa is the VP of Marketing and Developer Programs at Magic Leap. And thank you again, Magic Leap, for being one of our titanium sponsors today. She's a passionate technologist, a proven leader, an XR expert, and fully believes that spatial computing is the future of our industry and, quite frankly, our world. At Magic Leap, she leads the product marketing and developer program teams to build and empower the ecosystem that will make all of it happen. Her goal is to apply insights from her 25 plus years in the industry of true pioneer and champion, and the key XR milestones to help enterprises and developers realize the potential of Magic Leap's industry-leading technologies. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Lisa to the stage.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I guess we're not quite as popular as Campfire, but we're going to make this a fun session regardless. So let's get going. And I don't know if I have speaker notes available. If not, we're gonna wing it. So again, as was introduced, my name is Lisa Watts. I'm VP of Product Marketing and Developer Programs. Been with Magic Leap just about a year now. And prior to that, spent, as was mentioned, about 25 years at Intel. So very passionate relative to technology, for computing, wearable computing, and the XR space. So let's dig right in. When it comes to the future of digital work, I have a couple of key philosophies. One is that we've got a big opportunity in front of us, and when we look at all of the things that are happening relative to the pandemic, relative to working from home, we were at less than 30% of working from home, just a few decades ago, and now here we are. It's over 70% working at home on an ongoing basis. So as we think of the rise of technology and the rise of digital work, these are going to be very important things for us to all take into consideration. So then as we take a look at something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the evolution of compute, we talk about Moore's Law. At Intel, we used to talk Moore's Law a great deal, right? So what is Moore's Law? It's really where we were looking at technology coming down in size and power and really cost, and the coming down in cost and size, and the increase of power and performance per transistor was going up. So what does that start to enable? So you can see here, when we started in the mainframe computer days, where computers took entire data centers, where then they moved obviously to our desks, then to mobile computing, handheld computing, and smartphones. And now today we can take all of that technology that in the 60s would have had to fit in an entire data center, and now that can now be moved on to something that we can use from a physical perspective. And I would like to say that one thing that we have a philosophy about at Magic Leap, and I personally have a philosophy about, is that when you're going to put computing on a person or have a person use computing, it's very important to understand that there is a human involved. And so you might say that Apple spends a lot of time, when you have a phone in your hands, can you reach across, with your thumb? These are all things that have to be considered because there's a person involved. So when we take a 2D compute platform and we go ahead and put that on a person, it's very important that we keep those things in mind. So now we are all in the Metaverse age, and the Metaverse is something that is definitely top of mind for everyone. As far as we're concerned, this is, the Metaverse is made up of many different layers. And one of the most important things for us at Magic Leap, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later today, along with the Kronos group and the Open XR session, is the commitment to open standards and platform and interoperability. So for us to be able to connect the physical world with the digital world, and then all those factors that are in the environmental layers, the network layers, the human-generated data, the amount of human-generated data that's happening these days is immense. So how are we going to take all of this data and information, and then when someone is going to expose themselves to metaverse type of content, how do we make that contextual? How do we make that relevant? How do we make that persistent? And how do we make that enhance their ability to do their work? So these are all very practical things that we consider and think about in our daily lives, especially at Magic Leap. So some of those technologies that start to unlock the ability to actually truly collaborate, and in our case, obviously, we're focused on augmented reality. So doing the work in the place that you're at is important, of course. So, things like eye tracking, iris detection for different sorts of security types of situations. So do people have access to certain information? Hand tracking, right? Because lots of jobs need the ability to be able to have freedom of being able to do the tasks. Our spatial audio. So because we're humans, we need to be able to have the ability to have our senses extended in a way that's natural, normal, but actually is extended. It shouldn't detract from my senses. It should be adding to that. So our philosophy around spatial audio and how that's integrated into collaboration and spatial solutions is very important. Localizing the content, making sure that content is persistent, making sure that if we put it somewhere, it stays there. Right, so if somebody else comes by, it's still in the same spot. Eventually, be able to say that if this piece of content, if this physical item moves and there's digital content attached to it, that content goes with it, and somebody's not having to go back and move the sticky notes, right, to put it back. So these are very, very important as we're thinking about the entire stack and how we think about these capabilities. And of course, the understanding of the world, right, that you're in. Being able to operate in many different lighting conditions, being able to operate on many different network kind of connections, being able to understand, again, that object is the same object that you saw before. Being able to understand the space that you're in, understand the people, the audio capabilities or the audio properties of that particular area. So all of these things are extremely important. But if we can unlock those capabilities for our solution providers, then all bets are off relative to the things they're going to be able to do to bring innovations to the collaboration space. So then let's take a look at just a couple of key grounding points on what metaverse collaboration actually looks like. So in the first example here, we're going to use a factory scenario here, but a co-located collaboration and data visualization. So here we have a couple of individuals standing around. There's different things happening in the factory. And now instead of them having to huddle around an iPad, for example, or look it up on their phone or have their computer standing by where they're all huddled around that, now they're now able to, with augmented reality technologies, be able to actually see the data and information as it is happening in the context of the piece of equipment, the environment, et cetera. So if you have like an IoT lit up environment, say you've got an airplane that's got all kinds of IoT sensors on that, you can have your supervisor now have basically fourth dimensional sight in this environment, and then his or her colleague that is looking at that same environment can also then see the same data and information. So they're not trying to explain it to somebody. They're actually experiencing that in an immersive way that's real time. We're working on another solution where you can look in at this room. It's like, oh, what's happening with the data network in here? So I could look at this AP and see specifically how much traffic is going there and if I have a problem. Much better than me trying to say, oh, okay, like where is the AP? Pulling up my iPad and then trying to get the 2D network. I can literally look at it in context and say, this is what's happening. Now, in this day and age of, much more immersive experiential demands on solution providers, these sorts of solutions may seem fairly boring and, blasé, because we are all hoping for, the Marvel movie kind of experience. But when it comes to the practical work environment, these sorts of solutions very quickly make work easier, more responsive, and much more impactful. So then when you're not there with your colleagues, right, and this is where from an augmented reality perspective, being able to experience your colleagues in person in a very normal way makes a lot of sense, but what if they're not there with you? So in this particular scenario now, we don't have the expert in the room with us, But how do we, this is your see what I see remote collaboration function. So how do we then solve that particular problem? So being able to then stream our view, and not only stream the view, but have the person on the other end, augment our heads-up display. So, it would be equivalent of, someone flying along a fighter pilot for you, and, now we have AI to say, oh, the missile's coming that way. But if somebody else, if the guy flying behind you, we say, hey, the missile's over there, something you can't see. This is an extreme example. I have like Maverick on the mind, I guess. But that wingman is the analogy that I'm trying to get to, like that true ride along, and not only just to be able to see and audio try to tell you what to do, but actually be able to point to things, actually be able to even drop an audio cue. It's like, oh no, it's behind you, because the headset is giving, in the Magic Leap case, the headset is giving the person who's watching not only what you're seeing, but it's actually giving them information about the environment that you're actually in, which is, very unique and very powerful. So, and if we want to send a virtual avatar down to, stand next to the person to make that interaction even more natural, that would be, something that's possible. So then in a just a pure remote assistance perspective, as we're, carrying on with that scenario, being able to do that live streaming, being able to actually, drop digital objects where they need to be. These are all very, very powerful things that can be, can now be unlocked. And we're going to talk about a couple of solution providers here in a minute that, in this session, that are actually doing some of these exact scenarios. And then in the training and work instruction space, so you don't have someone with you, or you need to be able to learn on the piece of equipment while you're in the environment. We all know that, being able to train in the environment that you're at is much more powerful than, getting training on a PowerPoint. I just had an example of a friend of mine who was telling me that he has been talking to a lot of physicians about how they get trained. And one of his physician friends says, that he was trained to do a very delicate spinal surgery. And the way he was trained is he watched some videos, he read some books and articles, then he watched a surgery in the surgical theater. I got someone nodding here saying this is a real scenario. And then the doctor was like, okay, now you try it. So I don't know whether, I mean, he's one of the most successful spinal surgeons, so I'm glad that working methodology worked for him, but it makes me a little bit concerned about going around under the knife, right? So if you think about just on a mundane, everyday work perspective, if we could give people that in situ information while they're training and then assist them through that, even with the most basic tasks, that I think would be important. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to a couple of key partners of ours that are actually making wonderful solutions. So first, I'm going to introduce Alex, and then he can tell you a little bit about himself, and we'll go through what our Visio is doing. So please welcome our Visio to the stage.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Thank you very much, Lisa. And it's so exciting to be back in person to this event. I'm looking at this, whole setup. And last time I was able to participate in this was 2019 at the same event. So it's so refreshing to see people, to meet people, and to be able to demonstrate amazing technology solutions, and all of you guys participate in this journey. So I'm Alex Berlin. I'm co-founder of Visio. Visio is focused on delivering, and I'll use this fancy word, Metaverse, but we basically deliver augmented reality Metaverse. We are focused very much on bringing interactions between digital twins, so virtual content, and physical world. How do I move the slides? Okay. So we started this journey a few years ago, and we have a lot of expertise working with digital twins. Digital twins, a lot of people have different meaning for digital twins, but at the end of the day, we're talking about complex data, 3D models, or scans that could be represented live, utilizing amazing devices like Magic Leap devices or other mixed reality devices or augmented reality experience. And you can bring these digital twins to life and use them in operational cycle. We built a solution set that includes two main product solutions, and we are demonstrating here in startup area S16. Immerse 3D talks about collaboration, and this collaboration is about bringing digital content both on-site, sharing experience, mixed reality experience, AR experience on-site, and with remote participants. And Lisa provided very good explanation of all of these scenarios and use cases, so we basically cover this, whether it's virtual prototyping, design, interactions between people across the globe, where you have in global corporations engineers and technicians and designers and creative people working together on whatever content, whether it's designing medical equipment or manufacturing or working in fact across multiple industrial segments or construction. We work with Autodesk in this case as well, being able to visualize very strong set of data. So Immerse 3D, these are just a couple of examples. We started this journey using Magic Leap 1. We are now very happy to have initial experience with Magic Leap 2. I'll use this anecdotal data. I thought, okay, Magic Leap 2 sounds like a great device, but my first test was to give it to our director of engineering. And I waited for a few days, and he came back and said, Alex, I like this device. And this is when we started actually porting our software onto ML2, so you guys can stop by and see the application. Okay? The second set of our solution is called a product called AR Instructor. It delivers guided AR instructions for a variety of use cases. It could be used for installation, maintenance, assembly. It could be used for data center applications or in medical scenarios. We have some interactions with customers or manufacturing where you can fulfill the need for upskilling people in real time. And because we utilize digital twins, we can support content creation, not just in front of equipment on site. You can do it actually in the convenience of your office. You can prepare all the content utilizing digital twin. You can train people before you send them in harm's way. And this way, you utilize these layers of digital twin physical, mixed with physical world with rich data visualizations that brings this amazing augmented reality experience. Again, I have only a few minutes. I think I'm done. Guys, if you want to see it live, would be happy to see you at S16.
Thank you very much. Yes, the time does go quickly, and I took more time than I expected, so let's get Avrio Analytics up here, and Dr. Mick is going to give his introduction and let us know what Avrio is up to.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm Mick Bertolian, the Chief Science Officer at Avrio, and our focus is really on providing immersive training for first responders. And first responder training has really evolved over time with technology, and it's exciting to be part of that next evolution that's coming. And it really couldn't be more critical. So immersive training used to require live action drills. Right? You think about your burn houses for firefighters, your live fire training. And right now we understand just how dangerous that can be. It's expensive, but it's also dangerous for the trainee and for our climate. Technology drove us to old school simulators, right? Your 2D projection screens. But that two-dimensional visualization and the one-dimensional content is also falling short on providing that immersive training that they need. At Avrio, we're working on the next evolution, which is really a cyber-physical platform for training, where they're able to have fully immersive, fully dynamic, and fully connected experiences. Now, what this training provides them is training for the worst, where and when they need it the most. So because of AR, they can train in the actual facilities to which they respond, gaining that critical spatial memory and that critical situational awareness. So your local fire department can now have an immersive firefighting training experience in your local apartment complex or your local grocery store. And of course, because we're using the physical reality, we're getting haptics and rendering that are literally as real as they get. Right? We get to leverage all of that. And with Magic Leap, because it is really a spatial computing platform, we're also able to make fully dynamic content that's hyper-personalized to the training session using the latest AI. Right? And so you see some pictures here of some EMS and firefighters who are responding to an actual event in their actual space. And it's an exciting time, and it's being powered by Magic Leap and the spatial computing era. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mick. And next, last but not least, is Mike Nichols from Contextual, and to talk about their collaboration platform. He's the CEO there.
All right, thank you. Rethink, we can just go to the next slide, we'll try and go quick. Rethink really is a next generation collaboration and productivity workspace for the metaverse. Our focus really is to connect the creators, the thinkers, the innovators to be able to get work done, and we do that by focusing on developing design thinking tool sets. We like to say that, actually with Rethink, we're focusing more on making those connections with people in your team rather than just meetings. I don't think any of us need any more meetings. Go to the next page. So we create these shared experiences across all platforms. This helps teams build a level of trust based on their ability to be close to each other. Their proximity builds trust. They're able to share their process with each other, and they're also able to be present with each other. And this is a really important piece across any platform. So obviously we know VR is great for remote. It creates an experience no matter where you are, you're all in the same space together. With AR, really I think one of the most incredible benefits there is the co-presence and co-location abilities. So in those times where we're able to actually be together, we can actually use the Magic Leap to be able to pull in and share all our digital content and still be in connection with our remote teams. Again, as if we're all in the same space together. And then of course, there's also the web. Well, the web is an important piece for us. It allows us to be able to connect from anywhere, even if we don't have a device, even though it may not be as immersive. One of the advantages of being able to collaborate, in particular in kind of creative problem solving, is that you are focused on the actual work and sharing in the material together, rather than just focusing on the screens. And then finally, it will be available for free on getrethink.com. So get your Magic Leap and you'll be able to download it.
All right, thank you very much. You can have that, sir.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay, so obviously the collaboration landscape is evolving immensely, and I think for those of you who are business decision makers, you're looking at these solutions for your work environment. Really, the time is now. You're going to have a great experience here at AWE. Lots of different opportunities for you. These guys that are in the room, they'll wait for you at the back of the room or outside. Where we have just a few extra minutes here for a few questions. But I did want to just say that to come by Magic Leap's booth. If you are a developer and you're interested in applying for our developer program, we are accepting applications now. We will be making a developer kit for sale here very, very shortly. So when I say very shortly, I mean very shortly. So be sure to scan that. Let us know that you're interested. Come by the booth. And thank you very much. I think we've got about 2 minutes and 23 seconds for questions. If you can fit any of those in, or so we'd be happy to wait for everyone at the end as well. So if you have a quick question, we have a microphone here. Otherwise, we will hang after class and we'd love to talk to you. Okay, thanks everyone.